DR for 4 generations, all of a sudden was no longer a citizen in the Dominican Republic. So it's important to note there are different kinds of genocide. There's the physical genocide of killing people off, and then there's civil genocide where they are no longer part of the state, they no longer have any civil rights. If you are not a citizen in the DR, if you do not own a cedula, you cannot continue school past the 8th grade, you cannot own a home, you cannot hold positions of power, or you can't vote in an election, you can't have a job. So overnight, 250,000 people no longer exist. The danger of this is that what we see happening is now there's become a proliferation of fake news on social media, politicians, or even traditional media buying into anti-Haitianism. So no matter what Dominican page you go onto on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp groups, there's a proliferation of these fake stories. You'll see that, Haitians are sending all people with mental health to the DR. You'll see these things about like all Haitians are killing Dominicans with machetes on the border. Some of my favorites are people who take images. So this is an image from February where there's an anti-Haitian, anti-government protest in Haiti as part of the Petrocaribe protests that are ongoing. And it was taken to say that Haiti is preparing for a civil war against the DR. This post about the civil war has been shared thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And as a result, what we've seen is that there's a rise in lynching of Haitians in the DR as fake news gets spread. I'm sorry, I'm trying to give you all the information in 5 minutes. And what that means for us as activists is that this hatred that is spread through Dominican academia, through the state, has resulted in a rise in hate groups that specifically target Haitians. This is my organization. We have been targeted several times by hate groups who call us anti-Dominican, who call us traitors to la patria, and all kinds of things, and encourage people to enact violence against us when they see us in the street. One of the interesting things about the DR is that it is probably the only Caribbean nation that also has a very active Nazi white supremacist presence, even though they are not white, but hey, whatever, tomato, tomato. So between 2011 and 2017, there have been 136 lynchings in the DR. The DR doesn't keep records based on race, ethnicity, nationality, but just anecdotally, we know that a lot of these people were Haitian descent, and none of these crimes were investigated. A lot of it is mob violence, and is often videotaped and posted on social media and spread around. Haitian organizations in the DR have continued to highlight the human rights abuses that they are facing, and the fact that women in particular are vulnerable to violence, both sexual and physical violence, depending on their immigration status in the Dominican Republic. And what's also happening on the border is that the border continues to be militarized, and this militarization is happening with the support of the U.S. government. In 2009, I believe, the U.S. government funded what is called CESFRONT, which is now the Dominican Border Control. Before CESFRONT did not exist, but the U.S. has gone through a program of standardizing the Dominican Haitian border and as part of the global war on terror. Not sure what terrorism is going on in Haiti and DR, but recently, Israel has also offered to help the DR in its militarization of the border. So, what's next? There are two very different visions of the future of Haiti and the DR right now. So, the DR is going through its election cycle, and always in an election, every candidate tries to outdo the other and who can be more anti-Haitian. It's a very disturbing thing to see that Ramses Trujillo, which is the grandson of the genocidal maniac Trujillo is also running for president in the DR and pushing the country even farther to the right, as the same way Bolsonaro did to Brazil. So that's one vision of the DR. This is our organization. We do peace, conflict resolution, and dialogue with Haitians and Dominicans, and this is our vision for the island. However, these people have a lot more money. So in thinking about the 10 stages of genocide, you guys can determine based on the information I gave you briefly where we are now, but it is a very, very concerning trend as this election cycle continues to figure out where the DR is going to go and what that means for Black minorities. Thank you.
Wow.
Can I ask a quick question?
And we'll do questions after.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So we'd like to invite Sophia to come up, and I'll turn off this.
Buenas tardes con todas, con todos.
Buenas tardes.
Con todos. Mi nombre es Sofía Garzón, hago parte del proceso de comunidades negras en Colombia. Estoy muy agradecida con Jean-Pierre, agradecida con Omar por el ejercicio de organizarnos para transformar, erradicar opresiones y dominación. Para mí también es una alegría estar acá. Siempre es una alegría seguir con vida y luchar. Y pues gracias por el cariño y por rodearnos, porque la mejor forma, luchar no es un sacrificio.
Excuse me, we're having problems with the audio in English.
Okay. If you're having problems, go to the back over there to see Anna. Is it working now?
Hello. I haven't turned it on yet.
Try changing Which channel are you on? 2A? So everyone, you should be on channel A. Okay.
Entonces, agradecida estar aquí compartiendo con todas y todos aquí. Me honra mucho estar hablando en un espacio que está dedicado para la creación de alternativas al capitalismo, que me honra bastante. Me honra estar con personas que identifican en el racismo una ideología de dominación y opresión. Y agradezco profundamente a Jean-Pierre, a Yamo, a Omar, a Gibran, a Yancy, a la familia de Ramos por recibirme y por permitirme compartir con ustedes esta noche. Como les decía, soy militante del proceso de comunidades negras en Colombia. Como la temática de este foro es raza, militarización y resistencia negra en las Américas, quiero compartir 3 puntos específicos alrededor de esa situación en Colombia. El primero tiene que ver con que ustedes saben que después de un largo conflicto interno con guerrillas que son desideologizadas en mi análisis, firmamos un acuerdo de paz entre el Estado colombiano y las Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia, que hoy son un partido político, a finales del 2017. También saben, por presión internacional, que en que lo que ha firmado el acuerdo de paz y a la fecha hay asesinados más de 722 personas. Y digamos que en lo que tiene que ver con territorios negros y resistencias del pueblo negro en Colombia, hemos hecho por lo menos entre el 2017 y hasta ahora por lo menos 4 ejercicios de movilización de carácter nacional. Uno muy consistente fue en el 2017 el paro cívico de Buenaventura, duró la ciudad detenida por más de 21 días. A partir del 4 día hubo infiltración del Escuadrón Móvil Antidisturbios, que es la fuerza policial que tiene la responsabilidad de controlar disturbios que provoque la población. El motivo principal de ese paro era declarar la emergencia ambiental, económica y social de Buenaventura, que es el primer puerto del país. Por ahí entra alrededor del 25% del Producto Interno Bruto del país, y es una ciudad mayoritariamente afrodescendiente. Cerca del 75% de la población es afrodescendiente. Y sin embargo, Buenaventura no tiene agua, el alcantarillado funciona solamente en las zonas urbanas, y en este momento una de las grandes luchas es detener la expansión portuaria. Este es un ejemplo de lo que ocurre con la gente negra en otras partes del país. Otras personas dicen que en Colombia lo que pasa con la gente negra, con la gente indígena, con la gente sindicalizada, es que estamos ante un estado criminal y negligente. Creemos que es criminal y que es negligente. Y negligente en el sentido en que no se ha interesado en mejorar las condiciones a las que constitucionalmente tenemos derecho, y criminal porque nos chantajea, en el sentido de que si no estamos de acuerdo con la continuidad de los mecanismos para profundizar el modelo mineroenergético extractivo, pues cuando tú no haces parte de los encadenamientos productivos de las economías transnacionales, te queda la opción de delinquir o de ganarse la vida de otra manera. Entonces, o nos criminalizan por no hacer parte del modelo productivo de encadenamiento industrial, o nos criminalizan porque los hijos y las hijas que nos educan entran a ser parte de pandillas, entran a ser parte de la delincuencia común, y de alguna manera el resultado es el mismo. Nos expulsan del territorio y nos retienen y confinan y secuestran en cárceles. Eso no va a ser diferente en Buenaventura, en el Valle, en Chocó, en Pacífico, y si ustedes quisieran revisar cifras se darán cuenta que son en estos departamentos donde más alto porcentaje de personas han sido asesinadas. Con esto un llamado muy concreto es que está bien concentrarse en que hay asesinatos, está bien concentrarse en que hay amenazas, pero está mejor aún organizarse en comprender cuáles son las decisiones de política fiscal y cuáles son las decisiones de política macroeconómica que orientan a que hayan personas que tengan que ser asesinadas, y que se concentre la atención, se concentre los mecanismos institucionales de la fuerza pública, se concentren los mecanismos de la gobernanza global y se concentren los recursos de cooperación internacional para proteger particularmente e individualmente, mientras que comunidades quedan expuestas al incremento de la cifra de cultivos declarados de uso ilícito, a las alianzas público-privadas, que en el 2015 se denunció que la fuerza pública colombiana tiene alrededor de 1.200 convenios firmados con empresas que hacen extracción minera en Colombia. Sí, el presupuesto de defensa del Estado colombiano a partir del 2015 ha incrementado 4 puntos. En el 2019, 17.5% del presupuesto nacional es exclusivamente para el sector defensa. La policía cada vez tiene más funciones de control militares. Ustedes saben que en Colombia hay alrededor de 8 bases militares estadounidenses. Hay 20 batallones mineroenergéticos que están dedicados a la protección de infraestructura de empresas petroleras, de empresas mineras. Hay 8 batallones urbanos que tienen la potestad de entrar a territorios urbanos principalmente negros, como en Agua Blanca en Cali, como Moravia en Medellín, como Ciudad Bolívar en Bogotá, para hacer control supuestamente de tráfico de drogas. Y lo que vemos ahora en la eventual desmovilización de las Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia, hoy partido político Fuerzas del Común, es que el destino de nuestras fuerzas militares está en apoyar las misiones de paz de la Organización de las Naciones Unidas. Entonces, es una privatización del sector militar en Colombia para exportar la fuerza que es formada aquí en los Estados Unidos y que desde Colombia desafortunadamente se irriga al resto de países en Latinoamérica. Bajo este contexto, lo que hemos decidido como pueblo negro es, en el 2013 hubo un Congreso Nacional del Pueblo Afrocolombiano, Palenquero y Raizal. En este Congreso definimos que íbamos a tener un órgano de control territorial, un órgano de protección y cuidado del territorio, y le llamamos Guardia Cimarrona. Es la recuperación de una figura ancestral de control territorial que existía inicialmente en Palenque de San Basilio, que es una comunidad de las primeras en liberarse en América en 1574. Y esa figura la hemos retomado para que hagan control alrededor de los ríos, para que hagan control para que no se siembre hoja de coca en los territorios, para que hagan control de que no entren foráneos a hacer reclutamiento forzado. Esta Guardia Cimarrona para nosotras y para nosotros significa una decisión a que no nos vamos a dejar sacar de nuestros territorios, y digamos que podría contarles otros ejemplos de resistencia, de protección, de autocuidado que estamos haciendo para salvaguardar nuestras vidas, pero me interesa más el tercer punto, y es lo que podemos hacer. Entonces, lo primero diría es, tenemos que coordinar a nivel transnacional mecanismos de resolución de conflictos y tener la posibilidad de pensar escenarios de justicia reparativa y restaurativa como pueblo afrodescendiente. No necesitamos dejar de llamar a la policía, necesitamos dejar de usar la fuerza pública, necesitamos sacar de la cabeza que la idea de represión puede generar reconciliación en algún momento en la sociedad, y para eso necesitamos recuperar el control de nuestras comunidades, de nuestros territorios, de nuestras organizaciones, de nuestras familias, ¿no? Lo otro es hacer seguimiento pleno y activo a las modificaciones que se están haciendo a órganos que hacen investigación judicial, ¿no? Entonces, ustedes saben que en Colombia, durante 1995 y hasta finales del 2012, que ahora se vuelven a retomar, hubieron cerca de 10.000 personas que fueron declaradas guerrilleros. Cuando los asesinaron no eran guerrilleros, eran falsos positivos, porque hubo una política de incentivos, de remuneración, de bonos extras a las fuerzas militares que mataban y presentaban mejores resultados aniquilando al enemigo, como les decían. De estos, hasta el momento, siguen en investigación en la Fiscalía 5.000 casos, solo han sido condenados 30 militares, ¿no? Entonces la tasa de impunidad en Colombia es muy alta, y por eso no es efectivo en este momento acudir al sistema judicial para nuestra protección. Este año salieron de la cárcel 2 compañeras nuestras, Sara y Julia Maris. Nuestras compañeras fueron encarceladas por hacer defensa de derechos territoriales, duraron 1 año y 4 meses encerradas en la cárcel, y cuando estuvimos en la audiencia pública que hizo el fiscal, no había ningún argumento, ninguna evidencia que justificara que ellas hubieran estado 1 año y 4 meses en la cárcel. Y la estrategia ahorita en Colombia no es asesinar, es encarcelar. Y si hacen un seguimiento, vamos a notar que esto es un indicador igual en Ecuador, igual en Bolivia, y más cruel y represivo en Brasil, por decirlo de alguna manera. Entonces, hacerle seguimiento a las modificaciones que se estén haciendo en materia de justicia en las cortes constitucionales de este país y los otros países, y la injerencia que puede estar teniendo los Estados Unidos en eso, es una forma de adelantarnos a cómo va a seguir el camino de la militarización en nuestro continente. Pues creo que ya fueron los 10 minutos. Entonces les agradezco su atención.
Yes.
Since the translation device was not working, is it possible to have an English summary of her talk briefly?
Okay. I'm gonna invite somebody to offer it though, because I was dealing with the technical difficulty that was happening.
Well, everyone, we just made a switch, a change. There was some interference from another piece of equipment. So you can just put your headsets on if you are having difficulty, so we can just check it, that it's working. You should be on channel 8.
8?
8, as in apple.
8.
They should all be on channel 8, as in apple. If you don't hear anything, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you don't hear anything. Okay, so does that mean they all work?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Make a suggestion, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish, but if we could take it in lumps instead of the whole, she would have an easier time perhaps, if she said a paragraph or two and then we do the translation. It's very hard to hear the simultaneous while she's speaking.
Well, we have another Spanish speaker now. I don't think we can ask her to do
No,
it
I
over
agree.
again.
I can-
And maybe at the end, we can go over what she spoke about. I just feel that we need to keep it moving, just because we have our guests here from Venezuela. Do you go from here?
Yeah, just in lumps.
Okay.
And lumps are simultaneous.
And lumps are simultaneous.
I prefer simultaneous.
Okay, well.
Simultaneous is great.
Simultaneous, so I think we should just do the simultaneous because we do have the equipment, it was just not working before.
Yeah.
Do it in a lump to also extend our time here. So we would like to, voy a hablar en español porque Chucho está. Me gustaría saludar, bienvenir a Jesús Chucho García, que ha sido un compañero en la lucha, un mentor mío personal también, por ya varios años, por lo menos una década. Y Chucho ahora mismo está en Venezuela. Él era el embajador en el sur, está basado no, él estaba basado en Angola, en África, y después estaba basado, era el embajador regional del sur aquí en los Estados Unidos. Chucho, antes de eso, previo a eso, fue el fundador, uno de los cofundadores de la red afro-venezolana, que estaba organizando a nivel nacional en Venezuela sobre los asuntos que le estaban impactando, incluyendo violencia, incluyendo tierra, acceso a tierras de las comunidades afro-venezolanas y creando una red internacional de solidaridad con los pueblos afro-venezolanos. Entonces, bienvenido Chucho al Bronx virtualmente. A ver cómo suena, por favor.
No, aló, ¿cómo están todas y todos? ¿Están escuchando bien? Yo espero que sí. Estoy ahora en la ciudad de Caracas, tanto Ayam como Yambié también han estado aquí. Recuerdo que en 2004 creo que conocí a Yambié cuando estuvimos en una actividad, después casi inmediatamente del golpe de Estado que el gobierno del presidente Bush hizo contra el presidente Chávez. Posteriormente nos conocimos en la lucha profundamente cuando el huracán Katrina, que prácticamente destruyó la ciudad, ¿no?, bajo la complicidad del gobierno de George Bush también. Es decir, hemos estado siempre en contacto permanente. Sí, es cierto lo que dice mi hermana Jambier. Creo, a diferencia de otros países en América Latina, los afro-venezolanos hemos tenido un aliado principal en nuestras luchas, que ha sido el gobierno, a diferencia de otros países, por ejemplo, pero que en un momento determinado también el avance del proceso de países progresistas abriendo el siglo XXI, tales como Lula, Correa, Zelaya, Lugo, los Kirchner, fue como una idea bien extraordinaria que en ese momento comenzamos a jugar, donde los afro comenzamos a tener un papel protagónico, ¿no?, en la pública. Yo creo que estos países progresistas fueron los que contribuyeron esencialmente a implementar en gran parte el famoso plan de acción de Durban. Y nosotros, por supuesto, en ese sentido, jugamos también un papel fundamental para ayudar y orientar al presidente Chávez en la necesidad de vincularse más con África, de vincularse más con el Caribe y comenzar a crear un nuevo...
Un segundito, Chucho, un segundito. What do you suggest?
Small chunks. Small chunks.
Okay. Chucho, pedazos más cortos porque como es audio acá, entonces la traductora está navegando dos cosas. ¿Sí?
Bueno, muy bien. Pienso que nosotros, los afrodescendientes, los afro-venezolanos, contribuimos enormemente en estos 20 años de proceso bolivariano a expresar nuestra solidaridad internacional con los otros países donde también la población afro es fuerte. Por ejemplo, Chávez aceptó la propuesta de que aperturáramos relaciones con prácticamente toda África, a excepción de Marruecos, ¿no? Y ahí se estableció un puente extraordinario, y eso se llamó la Cumbre África-Suramérica. Lo mismo pasó también, la gran deuda moral que tenía Venezuela con Haití. Chávez expresó con la solidaridad abiertamente con el pueblo haitiano. Y lo mismo pasó con el resto del Caribe, y por eso llamamos Petro-Caribe, expresando nuestra solidaridad con los pueblos hermanos del Caribe. ¿Y por qué? Porque nuestra deuda histórica, nuestra independencia, es bueno que lo sepan ustedes, nació en el Caribe, nació en Haití, nació en Jamaica, en Trinidad. Todos estos fueron elementos que Chávez lo comprendió y se transformó en política. En estos momentos, ¿qué es lo que está pasando en Venezuela? Al pueblo venezolano, Estados Unidos y los países europeos, esos mismos países que practicaron la trata negrera, esos mismos países que se negaron a firmar los acuerdos de reparación en el plan de acción del Durban, son los que ahora nos están atacando. Han hecho medidas criminales contra el pueblo venezolano. Han reactivado de una manera más perversa lo que se aplicó en Cuba, lo que fue la ley Helford, que implementó Bill Clinton en la década del 90. Pero aquí estamos resistiendo, y los afro-venezolanos y afro-venezolanos constituimos un foco de resistencia esencial. Aquí ya nos visitó...
Más lento, un segundito. Ok, ahora.
Okay. aquí ya nos visitó Ayamu y pudo ver, pudo palpar la situación. Son medidas criminales. Por ejemplo, hemos tenido dinero para comprar las medicinas que está afectando fuertemente a las comunidades negras con hipertensión, anemia falciforme. Ayamu es testigo que Estados Unidos niega la posibilidad de que compremos esa medicina de este nivel. Pero cuando hemos intentado también comprarla con Europa, lo niegan. Es un bloqueo no solo financiero. Por ejemplo, yo era cónsul general de Venezuela hasta hace 7 meses en New para todo el sur, ¿no? Allí todas nuestras fuentes áreas fueron intervenidas. Las 2 refinerías de petróleo que teníamos en Luisiana, ¿no? y en St. Charles, ¿no? También fueron expropiadas indebidamente por Estados Unidos. Eran las refinerías que aportaban mucho económicamente para nuestro pueblo. Pero así también hicieron con la refinería de Corpus Christi, en Houston. Es decir, el bloqueo ha sido total. Ellos ahora están utilizando la estrategia de la triple frontera. Como no han podido a nivel de la Organización de Estados Americanos aprobar la invasión militar a Venezuela, como la aprobaron contra República Dominicana en el 65, como la aprobaron contra el gobierno de Arbenz, o como la aprobaron contra el gobierno de Maurice Bishop, la OEA no ha podido lograr consenso. Ahora crearon el Grupo de Lima, que es totalmente inconstitucional en la Convención de Viena y en la legislación. Ese Grupo de Lima ha buscado por todos los medios también de bloquearlo. Ahora han intentado buscar una intervención militar a través del Consejo de la ONU, el Consejo de Seguridad. A partir del lunes que viene comienza la Asamblea General de la ONU y van a intentar buscar de nuevo un consenso para la invasión militar a través de Colombia o a través de Brasil o a través de Guyana. Esa es la estrategia de la triple frontera. Pero aquí la gente está preparada para cualquier invasión, a través de la milicia, a través del apoyo de Rusia, a través del apoyo de China. No va a ser fácil. Lo que hicieron con Maurice Bishop, lo que hicieron con ARP, lo que hicieron con República Dominicana, aquí en Venezuela no lo van a poder hacer. Y ellos estando a 90 millas de Cuba, no lo han podido hacer, porque Cuba también es un pueblo muy digno y está preparado para la guerra. Esa es la situación donde los afro-venezolanos están jugando un papel de decisión contra el imperialismo norteamericano donde quiera que se encuentre.
Gracias, Chucho. Pues, thank you. I know interpretation has been hard. Chucho's language is also very exceptional, so that's also I need to note that too as a Spanish speaker. I would like to invite Sara to come up. Sara Branco is coming from Brazil. She is now based in New York, but she just got here. Today's her 1-month anniversary with us.
So my name is, it's the first time that I speak in public in English. So my name is Sara Branco. I'm a human rights lawyer in Brazil. I work for a black organization called SERT. SERT is the Center of Studies of Labor Relations and Inequalities. And we are part of the Brazilian Black Coalition for Rights. So I decided, before talking about the Black Coalition and what we have been doing, I want to bring a little bit of our social context in Brazil. So in Brazil, Black people represent 54% of the population. Now, every 23 minutes, a young Black man is assassinated. So that means that while we are here, at least 3 of them is dead. Yesterday in Rio de Janeiro, a young girl named Agatha, she was 8 years old and she was shot on the back while riding the public transportation with her mom. And that happened in one of the favelas of Complexo do Alemão during a military operation. Only in July, Rio's police killed more than 100, like almost 200 people. Rio has never killed so many people since Bolsonaro administration. And also the governor, Itzo, he has been like praising the police and all that. So they are like in this fight against, this war against crime. That's the excuse for those operations that happens every day. Also in São Paulo, our governor, Doria, he praised the police the other day. He's a supporter of Bolsonaro, and he praised the police saying, quote, I want to congratulate the police, the security department, for an amazing job on the war on crime. And we know that in those operations, the majority of the population who dies are Black and poor. Now, we represent, the last data says that we represent 71% of the population who is either incarcerated or is murdered. And with Bolsonaro's election, the numbers are increasing, as we see in Rio de Janeiro, for example. The campaign of Bolsonaro was literally based on hate, and it was like an anti-Blackness campaign, even though we don't openly address the issue like against Black people. But they're like, now there's this concern about how violent Brazil is, you know. So because they're saying that Brazil is too violent, all the parties, they're trying to, okay, so how do we make campaigns to address violence? So because of that, Bolsonaro was elected, his main promise was, okay, I'm gonna end violence in Brazil. So his security minister, public security minister, created this bill that is up to vote, that is named the anti-crime bill. It's a package. So because of this anti-package bill is that is one of the main reasons why we created the Black Coalition for Rights. So we are 50 Black organizations across the country, and we see Bolsonaro, like this far right advance, as like it will make our situation get even worse. You know, so we decided like to build strategies in Congress, pretty much, and advocacy to stop that bill. So the idea is that the bill doesn't pass. One of the main things that the bill says is that if the police officer kills and claims that he acted under pressure or that he was fearful, he or she, I'm sorry, they won't respond for a crime. So actually they can kill and say, oh, I was too scared, that's why I shot someone, you know, and they would get away with it. They already do, so that will be even worse, you know, because the justice system doesn't have the obligation, won't have the obligation to investigate those murders. So since April, what we have been doing, we have been advocating in Brazilian Congress and Senate, and then we also are denouncing the government to international courts. We don't have the tradition of doing that in Brazil, you know, especially like the Black people usually are the white organizations who have the money so that they do that, and then we always end up like not being heard, you know. So now we're like, okay, we're gonna do this by ourselves, like, on our own. So we denounced Bolsonaro to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in Jamaica. And last week we were in the Black Caucus Congress in Washington, D.C. And this week, some members of our group went to Geneva for the Commission on Human Rights of the UN, also to denounce what the government has been doing against Black people, especially this package, the anti-crime package. And just one thing, Brazil in 2015, I think it's important to highlight that Brazil was the country that most bought weapons from Israel.
So this panel, as we heard, included information from all over the Americas, right? But because we do not, the United States is part of the Americas, it's not a country called America. But we do live right now, we are in the Bronx, we're in the South Bronx right now, and Puerto Rico is close to a lot of our hearts. I would like to invite Wanda Salaman, who is an Afro-Boricua, Afro-Puerto Rican woman person that lives here in the Bronx, because she's going to give us out her thoughts about, she's just going to give her some reflections, some food for thought as we go into our conversation, and bring it back to the Bronx, right? Bring it back to where we are, where we stand, and also give us her reflections and her views about Puerto Rico and how all these things relate together.
En Puerto Rico no hay negros.
In Puerto Rico, there's no black
There's
people.
no black people in Puerto Rico. If there's black people in Puerto Rico, they probably be like, if you ask people here, if there's black people in Puerto Rico, they don't think there's black people. But yo soy negra y yo soy Puerto Rican. And my family is black and they also Puerto Rican. So when the whole thing here happened with Maria, I was here in the States. I worked in an organization called Mothers in Post, not far from here. My family was very worried because we knew that the resources was not going to go to our neighborhood, and it was not going to reach the people that I've been knowing since I was a little kid. As for me and my family, what we did is we packed food. As soon as the flights were going out to Puerto Rico, we sent a family member to take food, take flashlights and everything that is there. Because we knew that even though here in the United States they was collecting goods, it was not going to reach the black people in my neighborhood. Like it did not. So people had to work together to do as much as they can. Because just like in Latin America, in other parts of the world, the black people really don't matter. So you think. But then if you ask them, as I ask you guys are, ¿y tu abuela dónde está? Is where's your grandma? Go and trace back. Was your grandma? And your grandma was a black woman. If you want to believe it or not. Your grandma was a Haitian. Your grandma was a Puerto Rican. Your grandma was an African. So, even though, like the sister was saying about a lot of white organizations, they never put the people of color in power, right? It's hard. Even in foundations, you always see all that stuff here in the Americas, that you never have the same opportunities that my counterpart that is light-skinned, went to college, has over me. Because yo no saben nothing. So that's why you stay quiet and I do my shit. But bringing it back to here where we at, in the South Bronx, we have a lot of those problems, right? We in Hunts Point. Hunts Point is only 11,000 people live in this peninsula, and they keep now bringing different projects into the area of development. We are surrounded by water. 10, 20 minutes maybe to go to downtown from here, from this area. It doesn't take that long. And the people that live in this area, they're mostly African American and Latinos are also facing the same, maybe not getting killed like in other places, but we are facing a lot of different discrimination in these communities here, not only here, but also in the Bronx. So maybe it's not the same type, but it's still going to hurt us in our bodies, and it's still going to hurt us mentally. So it's all type of different torture that people of color face here and around the world, especially when they don't want us to rise up. So putting it back to you guys is, how are you going to support? And I just said that you want to support bullshit, but how you want to support people of color and organization of color. And even if you are a person of color, how you really want to show up and help us to continue to do what we're doing. That's it.
If you would like to know a little bit more about Wanda's work, or a lot more, Wanda she does a lot of things. She wears a lot of bandanas and wraps. But Mothers on the Move, if you do not know about Mothers on the Move here in the Bronx, you need to navigate and read up on Mothers on the Move, because they have really changed the relationship that people have, not only to, organizing, but around housing, environmental justice, children, providing support for displaced people from Honduras that are Black, that the government basically threw at the Bronx a few years ago. Wanda was one of those pillars here that really helped to organize that community to where they are today, which is thriving. So, do a search on her name, Wanda Salaman, and you'll get all types of goodies up there. So now we'd like to open it up for questions, reflections. Wanda, we'd like to invite the speakers back up to take their space here. Wanda, I feel posed a challenge, and the first question is, what are you going to be doing? As white people, as people of color, I feel that we're at a critical moment right now when we talk about race, militarization, and Black resistance, that it's a moment and a time now to really, bring it together. So, get some questions or comments.
Thank you all very, very much for having us today. My name is Lisa Fripp, okay? I work with the 9/11 Truth Action Project in New York, okay? The thing is that this is a class war as well as a race war, because the people that are in power, the cabal that murdered 3,000 people in the towers on 9/11, are the same cabal of criminals that think that they have a right to the natural resources of the world, and they will crush anyone who gets in their way. And that's the bottom line. And all of the struggle, of the indigenous people around the world, here and around the world, it is all of our struggle, because without us together, then we're not going to win. Okay, and that's what they don't want, is for the people of the working class, of all nationalities, and the middle class to unite. Okay, so I'm saying that I want to know, how to reach. I mean, I know I was on the email list, which was how I found out about this. But, I know very well that the whole issue about 9/11 is not going to be exposed, and those criminals aren't going to be yanked from their towers, until the movement is at the point where they have insisted, okay? And that's going to take all of us. And so I'm saying that like your website and people's websites, we need to know how to reach y'all so we can then, you can reach us so that we can show up. Because, you know, that's what we're here for.
So there's a sign-up sheet at the back. We'll make sure to email everybody the organizations and the bios and everything else. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question. I was particularly interested in the Haiti Dominican. What's the situation now, and what is your hope, and how can we support peace there?
Sure. So the situation now is what I described to you guys, that the tension is escalating. A lot of hate speech is being fomented by bots online in a similar way you saw during the US election. A very similar tactic is being used in the DR, and that's transferring into violence on the street. What would be really useful, I think, for Americans is some accountability to decision makers here, because our border is being militarized by the U.S., by weapons made in the U.S., by drones coming from the U.S., and there's a lot of preferential trade deals that the DR has with the U.S. that are supposed to take into account human rights in terms of sugar imports, especially, and other things that clearly don't take those things into account. So not only sugar, but also labor. The way that Haitians are in the Batays in sugar plantations are living in a state of indentured servitude should preclude DR from having preferential trade agreements with the U.S. But that hasn't happened because there hasn't been an outcry against Dominican sugar in the way that you see people like you organize against sweatshop labor for H&M and things like that. So that will be something really, really useful if you guys put effort towards holding your leaders accountable, holding the Department of Labor accountable for human rights violations and where it is imports are coming from.
Thank you.
We have.
Is there a boycott against Dominican Republic?
So that's a complicated question that shouldn't be complicated. Because most of the people who work in the tourism industry and the labor industry, most manual labor in the DR is Haitian. The time when we could have called for a boycott, they did not want to. And so we did not make that call. However, people have personal boycotts who personally say they don't want to go to the DR, but the Black organizations in the DR have not unified and themselves called for a boycott, or even called what's going on against them a genocide in the way that Brazil has, in the way that South Africans have. There isn't that level of organization, unfortunately, and because of that, they don't have the international solidarity that they should.
I too have a question about Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and whether or not any thought has been given to the strategy of bringing pressure against Congressman Adriana Espaillat, who won Congressman Ringo's seat. He has declared, or had declared at one point, that this congressional seat was a Dominican seat, which is kind of crazy. And he brags about his relationship with the president of DR. This is just a matter of public record. I was in the DR on a number of occasions, part of a medical brigade delivering medical supplies to Haiti. And when I was in DR as an African American born and raised in the South, it is unbelievable, the Black anti-Blackness. I mean, it was, I've never even seen anything like that in the South. And what happens daily at the border are Haitians who are beaten, who are robbed, women who are raped, and some even taken prisoners to work in the enforced labor in the military compounds along the border. I saw it firsthand. I saw it myself. And the only reason I escaped part of their reverse racism was the fact that I was American, and obviously I spoke English, but they thought that I was Dominican. But the internal racism is so ingrained for generations that it is almost inconceivable to even expect that one can deal with that. So the long and short of it, of my little monologue here, is whether or not you have given any thought to congressional pressure through a Dominican representative. I mean, he declares he is Dominican. He is Dominican, but he's a U.S. citizen, as a way of moving forward. And even the immigration movement itself, you see all the ads, and you don't see a brown paper bag color in any of those advertisements. It's as if they are playing to the Democratic Party, I believe, subliminal message that we want to bring in these white immigrants. And we're not talking about these dark-skinned people. We are talking about, I'm sorry.
Just because of the time, sorry.
Okay, if you can answer my question.
Sure. SPA's a tool. It's a complete tool of the Dominican government. When he first started running against Rangel, he was very vocal that he himself had been undocumented at one point, and he supported Dominicans of Haitian descent who are stateless. Then he met with the Dominican lobby, they slipped him some money, and he has changed his tune. So he is not a friend of this issue at all. In terms of other members of Congress, the CDC specifically, we have spent a lot of energy lobbying and educating the CDC. Unfortunately, and the CDC stands for Congressional Black Caucus. What happened though was that when the Dominican government and the sugar lobby realized what we were doing, they spent $250,000 lobbying themselves. So we would go in and meet Congress, and they would already have the Dominican government's talking points on their desk. So the Dominican government and the sugar lobby has spent a lot of money lobbying Congress to say nobody is stateless in the DR, no human rights abuses are going on, these kids are just making that up. Like, those are their talking points. And now everybody has their papers. This is not a problem anymore. And SPA just repeats those talking points. Again, it's going to take hearing this issue repeated from non-Haitians and non-Dominicans for Congress to take action and for them to realize that there is actually a problem going on, because the official talking point they're getting from the Dominican government and the Dominican ambassador is that none of this is happening.
Thank you. We have a question over here.
My question is to everybody. It seems from the top that militarism and racism combined by U.S. and its allies like Israel going underhand. So I want all of your ideas that seems racism is rising by white supremacists and sending military so my question is that this is what I got from the talk. And please clarify.
Sí, es una pregunta es que ella entendió que el racismo está subiendo más que militarización. Entonces el racismo está subiendo, entonces quiere las ideas. Eso fue lo que ella entendió de todas las personas que hablamos, que hablaron, que
La combinación de la militarización y el racismo ha contribuido al racismo.
exacto, y que la militarización y el racismo han contribuido al racismo subido, incrementando.
También con la ayuda de los Estados Unidos y sus alianzas.
Well, if I could comment briefly first, I would say that racism is not rising. Racism or white supremacy has always been a part of the pan-European capitalist colonial project. We talked about at the top of the program the invasion of the Americas by the Europeans. The invasion was an invasion that was implemented through violence, through various forms of violence, state violence in particular. That's been a fundamental part of the relationship. Violence in the form of repression, direct military actions. That's the essence of another concept that we need to introduce and talk about a little bit, and that is colonialism. That this region has been colonized, and the process of decolonization has not taken place. So the anti-blackness that we see in places like the DR is a manifestation of a colonial mentality, in which whiteness is still represents the apex of humanity. That was part of the justification that was used to impose European aesthetics, power, and everything else on the people of this region. So these elements, colonialism, white supremacy, and militarism, form the matrix of what we have to struggle against. That basically there's no reform of this process, no reform of this system. The only way we're going to be able to realize our collective human rights is to engage in ferocious struggle. That if we're not prepared to overturn this system, then basically all we're doing is collaborating with our enemies. And we got to be absolutely clear about that.
Sí. Pues muy despacio. Vengo de un recorrido por las organizaciones negras en el sur de los Estados Unidos. Y aunque me voy a referir a una organización que no es negra, ellas y ellos hacían un análisis de la vida del mundo se está precarizando, se está empobreciendo, entonces hay menos salario, menos empleos disponibles, menos condiciones de vivienda, es más caro acceder a servicios de calidad en salud. Y cuando los escuchaba les decía, no es que sea nuevo, la experiencia es nueva para la gente blanca, pero la experiencia es común para nosotras y nosotros desde hace mucho tiempo. Entonces, la preocupación por la militarización y la preocupación por el racismo es porque ahora más gente está sintiendo lo que muchos pueblos han sentido desde hace más de 100, 200 y 300 años, que es la otra, digamos que es como la continuación del hilo de lo que están haciendo allá. Y el asunto con esa continuación es que imperceptiblemente estamos permitiendo que nos controlen más la vida. Entonces tal vez estamos hablando de que aumenta el pie de fuerza militar en todos nuestros países, pero ya no es para pagarle a más soldados, ahora es para hacer investigaciones que puedan hacer perfiles predictivos para saber de antemano quiénes van a ser los futuros criminales. Y los futuros criminales somos nosotras y nosotros porque no aceptamos que sea constitucional el capitalismo, ¿no? Que sea constitucional la dominación, que sea constitucional la opresión. Entonces, sí, crece el racismo y crece la militarización porque el proyecto supremacista no se ha acabado, ¿cierto? Pero también no podemos sacarnos de la cabeza que nos estamos organizando y que nos hemos organizado siempre. Y una de las esperanzas, las decía el año pasado en la movilización contra el G20 en Buenos Aires, es el pueblo negro ha resistido a todas las formas de fascismo y lo vamos a seguir haciendo.
No, we have a question over here.
Pero ya no estoy preguntando.
¿Cómo? Pero no, ¿quieren comentar o...?
Okay, cool. See, so in light of the reality of what we're facing here as not just people of color, African America, these lone wolf attacks, these acts, these random and quick acts of racism that we're dealing with, these militarized zones that we have to walk through, not just large countries, but also our neighborhoods and our reality. I want to know, considering the fact that people of color were born with inherent trauma, let's keep that into also. What's the reality? Now we see that there's violence, and we see that we want peace, no lie, but we know peace comes with bloodshed, unfortunately. We don't want it to be like that. But if we're as peaceful as we want it to be, and as peaceful as we want our solution and our end goal to be, how we're preparing our field people, our ground troops, those that we love and report back to us to deal with that trauma, and also to deal with the actual medical issues that we'll have in the field. Like, it's okay to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, we go to these protests and actually somebody gets beat every time. It's okay to acknowledge that. But in reality, we know it's going to happen. We know our peace isn't being met with peace. We know it's being met with violence. And just hoping for the best is not a plan. What do we do to plan for that? As far as what you would tell the people that report back to you, or even what you see out of it?
I would say that one thing that we've started to do as In Culture Company is that at every event that we have now, we have designated social workers that come specifically to deal with the trauma that comes up as we have these conversations and have these dialogues, because it is true that we as people of color experience a lot of trauma, and sometimes little things trigger us, and so we've started making that part of everything that we do, that's an option available to people, that they can step aside and talk to someone. As a Haitian, I think I tend to lean more Malcolm than Martin. However, I also think that as a Haitian, I would be remiss to say that what happens after the revolution is more important than the revolution itself. And so we as people of color are sometimes preparing for the revolution without thinking about what does peace actually look like to us, because oftentimes what we do, unfortunately, is recreate the same system of oppression that white men have created and call that freedom. And that's not freedom. So I would challenge us to think about what is post-revolution rather than think about the revolution. Because we could go to war with the state, we could win that war, and then we could recreate the same issues that we have with Israel or Liberia. Like, we are just recreating that same system of oppression. So that's how I'd like to think about these things, is like, how do we build systems that are better than what we come from? What does freedom actually look like for Black people and brown people? What does equality look like? What does a world without white supremacy and capitalism that's backbreaking looks like for us?
Ooh.
Thank you, and I want to thank everyone that spoke tonight. This was really an amazing event. You talked earlier about creating a transnational structure, and what strikes me in your conversations with Congress members is the same thing about all of the countries, about Venezuela. Even Sanders is calling Maduro a vicious tyrant. One is there a transnational structure? Maybe Black Alliance for Peace is to work together to really change the awareness in the United States of the commonalities of the struggles. Like I'm thinking when we were in the Venezuela embassy, one of the things we did was we put a big board on the front of the embassy that listed U.S. imperialist tactics to educate the public that this is not, this is not a new thing. but is there some sort of structure that allows us to really, because I think Congress, and I've talked to Congress members a lot, but without some sort of pressure, they aren't going to respond. And to build this mass movement requires that we have this awareness. So is there some structure that allows us to change see the commonalities and change the awareness of people?
Well, very briefly, I would have to say that right now we don't have any effective transnational structure, and that's all right to say that. That's part of the challenge. We tell no lies and claim no easy victims. And right now, our forces are relatively weak. But what we understand is what we have to do. And in fact, we have to begin to move toward building those kinds of structures. And this is part of that process. We are for peace, but as the brother indicated, we understand that without justice there can be no peace, and for that we have to struggle. And that's the message that we try to communicate. We start from the perspective that we are human beings, and we have fundamental inherent human rights. But to be able to realize those human rights, we have to fight for those human rights. So, that process is in fact a process of engaging the state, of building our power, of envisioning what it is we want to build in the future. Imagining something beyond this, because, for many people, the reason why they don't exist is they don't believe that there really is an alternative. That all we can do is to reform what is already existing. And we're saying that a proper analysis of the trajectory of human history and the contradictions of this system, this global system, if you understand that for us to be able to exist and survive as a human species, we've got to transcend this, then the task becomes quite clear. That we're not talking about revolutionary change. We're not talking about revolutionary change with a different set of values that we basically are doing. So envisioning that alternative is really important. Engaging people and engaging their imagination is part of the process. And we don't want to repeat what we have today. We want to be committed to new principles and a new vision of humanity and our potential as human beings.
So we have space for one more comment or question. Oh, I know that his hand has been up.
Yeah, appreciate the time. Appreciate everybody presenting. My question deals with more like contradictions associated with racism and national oppression. Now, as blacks living in white racist societies, are your movements considering national liberation type movements? Because I didn't even hear it from, I believe you're an African American.
That's what they say, yes.
So I didn't hear it from the person that identifies as African American. I'm not an African American. I renounced citizenship years ago. I'm a citizen of the Republic of New Africa. The Republic of New Africa was formed 50 years ago as a government, and it has grown since that time. It's our claim that the United States owes us 5 states for the extraction of slave labor over 400 years. And those 5 states are in the Deep South, where they basically extracted our labor. So my point in asking this is that all these different movements, for instance in Haiti, or I see a national flag there, doesn't get but are you forming national liberation movements similar to the Maroon movement that was able to fend with slavery for hundreds of years. So it's just basically what I want to know. And if so, I'd just like to know, what do you know about it, or if any of you are involved?
I mean, Haiti is a national liberation movement in itself. That is what we're founded on, and that's what we will die on, and that's what we protect. However, the reality is that we live within a system of globalization that often doesn't allow Black people to succeed, and it doesn't allow us to benefit from our labor. And that's the reality that we're dealing with. That's the challenge, because we are also surrounded by other states that are Black-led, Black-run, yet their ability to produce and extract is owned by a minority or is owned by people from the outside. Like Dominican Republic is supposed to be the third strongest economy in the region, yet most of that is taken out of the DR and goes to people who actually own the resource in Europe and so on and so forth. Same for Puerto Rico, the same for most of the islands in the Caribbean. So yes, we have these Black spaces that are supposedly revolutionary, and it's the same in I believe Colombia and Brazil. There are Black spaces that have been created, yet we don't own the mechanisms of production in our Black spaces. And that's the real challenge, I think, is really, when I say like rethinking about, what post-revolution looks like, how do we actually produce states where we grow what we eat, we make what we need, and we're completely self-sufficient. That is, I think, what the future looks like. It's not enough to just own the land. You have to be able to feed yourself and own the production as well.
Okay. No, I'm wondering about your question, and like in Brazil we also have the Maroons, the Quilombolas. They have been resisting for centuries, because they descend from slavery. So during those enslaved Africans who would run away, they would go to quilombos, and they are still occupied those lands, so they have their own ways of living. They grow their own food, their own economy. They have their own society, But also those territories, Brazil acknowledges those lands. Okay, so we acknowledge that you guys are there and that's your land. But at the same time, Brazil government doesn't give them the property of those lands, So for us, it has been a struggle as well to resist, Maroons to resist, So some communities are literally disappearing. We have this one is up in Alcântara, and Brazil government with the U.S. just signed an agreement. The U.S. would be able to use Alcântara as an air base. And that would mean that more than 2,000 people would have to be displaced from that space. So what they're claiming right now, not claiming, and demanding from the government, and that one thing that we are also pushing to the international agenda, is that the Brazil government can't pass this agreement without consulting those people, without acknowledging them the property and giving them the certificate of property, Because if that happens, that means that if they are displaced, that community will really not exist anymore. Because that's where they have been for their entire lives, pretty much, for centuries. So I think that's an example of Maroons, what's happening in Brazil against them, and what we have been doing to try to resist this force that are trying to really make them disappear.
I would say real quick that you have the physical displacement that happens to a lot of Black communities. Panama is also going through the same thing. In Colombia, you see, Afro-Panamanians being displaced from their traditional land. But then you have the economic displacement that happens as well. So for example, I'm 33, and my mom will always say when she was able to produce all the food that it ate, that has changed, and a lot of that's happened because of U.S. trade policy, where Haiti was forced to take rice from the U.S. and lower its tariffs. So now most Haiti imports 75% of the food that it eats. So when you hear there's a full food crisis or any kind of global financial crisis, that means Haitians can't eat. And if you can't eat, you can't stand up against the systems of oppression if you're worried about your basic exactly. So and you see that happening in a lot of places that our economic sovereignty is also being taken away slowly by policies put in place. So it might not be blatant as moving people off the land blatantly, but if you are importing American rice at a very cheap rate and Haitian farmers can't compete, what they do is they leave their farmland and they go work in factories, and therefore Haitians aren't producing the food that they need anymore.
You have something?
Well, just briefly, regarding the issue of land, which is a very important one for all of the revolutionary processes. You know, as a revolutionary Pan-Africanist, we see the African nation encompassing both Africans on the continent and African people throughout the so-called African diaspora. That includes African states that have nominal state power and oppress African peoples. So the question of the African in North America is something that has to be addressed. We know that part of the counterintelligence program of the FBI, beginning in the 1970s, where it intensified, was to kill any kind of sense of national consciousness among African people in this country, and Pan-Africanism by extension, to basically, in essence, make us Americans in terms of consciousness. So the notion of African people as a people is part of the conversations that have to be engaged in here in this country, and that's happening. So acknowledging, recognizing certain land bases is part of that process, part of the conversations we're having among ourselves, and with folks who are part of the land historically, the indigenous of this territory. So those kinds of conversations must take place, and they are taking place. But we recognize, many of us, that there are some legitimate claims for a land base in North America. We believe that that is something that needs to be dealt with and will be resolved as part of the process as it unfolds here in this territory we call the United States of America.
Sí, muy bien. Hay una experiencia acá, no sé si la conocen, es Jackson Corporation, Mississippi. Tuve el honor de estar con las hermanas y los hermanos allá. En un intercambio, alguno decía algo que siempre he sentido, pero que no sabía cómo se materializaba, y es el lugar donde está Jackson antes era territorio originario, era pueblo nativo. Ellas y ellos tienen el propósito no solamente de reconstruir la comunidad y de comprar toda la tierra, sino que su propósito final es entregarla de nuevo a los pueblos nativos que están ahí. Cuando escuché eso, sabiendo que el proceso del que hago parte se ha encargado de hacer más o menos la titulación de 6 millones de hectáreas, pensé, ahí es donde se termina la cosificación que produjo la trata transatlántica. Lo que la gente negra le aporta a la humanidad es dejar de ser la cosificación cuando terminemos de liberar la tierra, que es liberarla de las dueñas y los dueños. Y en esa medida sanamos, en esa medida reparamos, en esa medida estamos en un contexto más allá del capitalismo, más allá del colonialismo, porque ya no hay algo que sea apropiado, y eso es profundamente reparador, ¿no? Entonces, solamente para profundizar en esta relación, la colectividad es el proyecto que quiere ser exterminado a toda costa por cualquier mecanismo. la colectividad. Y la colectividad usualmente tiene raíces. Entonces, identificar dónde están estas raíces es parte de nuestra tarea, y lo que no podemos negar es que esos derechos de los que hablamos son propios antes del Estado, pero el Estado como instrumento que nosotras y nosotros también podemos usar tienen que ser exigidos. Entonces, sí parece una contradicción tener que estar haciendo exigencia de nuestros derechos al Estado, ¿cierto? Pero esa contradicción se va resolviendo en la medida en que ese Estado se controla para desmantelar esos instrumentos que usa para dominarnos, ¿no? En la medida en que cuando estamos ahí o cuando otros están ahí y son nuestros aliados, generamos condiciones para que lo público se defienda, para que lo diverso se defienda, para que la decisión sobre el presupuesto en total sea colectivo, ¿no? Para generar condiciones de autodeterminación y autonomía. Entonces, creo que estamos en ese tiempo y me ha gustado mucho como estar en este panel y escucharlas a todas y a todos, en que sí estamos pensando más allá de esta realidad opresora, ¿no? Y sí tenemos propuestas y sí sabemos a dónde vamos. Entonces, eso era lo que quería agregar a la respuesta de las compañeras y los compañeros.
Bueno, I think this panel has been really good and informative. I want to thank all the panelists here today. Entonces, ¿querías añadir algo a la última pregunta? No, he can hear. I think he's been hearing. Maybe he's muted it, because this is not muted.
You may be.
Chucho.
Yes. What happened? What is mine, man?
Que si querías añadir algo sobre colectividad, sobre algo para cerrar, si quieres compartir algo.
No, simplemente estoy muy satisfecho por las diferentes exposiciones de las compañeras de Colombia, Brasil y de Puerto Rico, por dar un enfoque interesante. Confieso que he aprendido de las cosas también que están diciendo con sus respectivos países, ¿no? Y también, pese a que nosotros estamos en un proceso bolivariano, también tenemos nuestras fallas, hace falta profundizar y luchar mucho más la lucha contra el racismo, contra el patriarcado. Nosotros, igual que Cuba, no hemos todavía eliminado esos males que nos dejó la esclavitud en el surgimiento del capitalismo. Estamos muy conscientes de eso y confieso que con ustedes tres, con las expositoras, he aprendido bastante. Eso voy incorporando también a la cuarta edición de mi libro que se llama Africanas, Esclavizadas, Cimarronas y Guerrilleras, porque ustedes constituyen un foco de lucha bien importante en América Latina y el Caribe. Yo he estado en los países donde ustedes, desde los cuales ustedes están hablando. He estado durante mucho tiempo en Puerto Rico, allí compartiendo en la lucha por la liberación de Puerto Rico. Venezuela ha sido muy constante, permanente en el comité de la ONU por la descolonización de Puerto Rico. Aquí mismo, donde estoy viviendo, hay un gran complejo habitacional que lleva el nombre de un gran puertorriqueño que recientemente fue liberado y estuvo aquí en nuestro país. Por favor, ayúdame, hermana de Puerto Rico.
Oscar López.
Sí, Oscar López Rivera. Sí. Y nosotros muy enamorados también de la bomba y de la plena, con Ismael Rivera y todo eso. Igualmente pasa con nuestros hermanos y hermanas de Brasil en la lucha que estamos llevando en conjunto en la frontera entre Santa Elena de Guairén, de Venezuela y Boavista, ¿no? Recientemente estuve en Brasil en una larga conferencia sobre la espiritualidad que hicimos allí precisamente también por la liberación de Lula. Hicimos una gran rogativa por la liberación de Lula. Y por nuestros hermanos colombianos es permanente, ya que nuestra frontera es una frontera caliente y sabemos que Estados Unidos está operando desde las bases militares de Colombia contra nuestro país. Entonces, por lo tanto, tenemos un objetivo en común. Cuando hallamos, y ustedes hablaban de este nuevo componente del racismo, que es el militarismo, eso es una tremenda realidad. Y yo creo que eso debe ser incorporado a la agenda. Militarismo es igual a racismo. Y racismo es igual a discriminación. Y discriminación es igual a exterminio racial. Muchas gracias por darme la oportunidad una vez más de comunicarme con todas y todos ustedes. Desde Caracas, Venezuela, Jesús Chucho García, venceremos.
I would like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I would like to thank the Space Green Workers Cooperative. There's an event that's happening again on the
September 28th.
September 28th. It's the largest sancocho. It's cooked outside at Brook Park, which is close by. And it's on its sixth year.
Mm-hmm.
It's on its sixth year, and it's really great. And you have flyers for everybody?
Yeah.
Perfect. There's some flyers for everybody. Thank you, Ajamu, France. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Gracias, Wanda, por venir también. Wanda, te queremos, Wanda. And thank you, Anna, for also like helping please sign up so you can get more information about the work that we're doing. And there, yes, we need some help to put this back together along with Oman. And remember your equipment to get your ID. We do not want to take home any IDs tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.